In the headlines tonight, Ethiopia and Somalia agreed to work together to stave off threats to security of the region. The UNHREE Commission's report on Ethiopia said to be the work of invisible Western hands from behind. Good evening to you all. A very warm welcome to ETV News. I am Grum Tariku. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his delegation held bilateral discussions with the delegation of Somalia led by President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed today in Addis Ababa. The two leaders expressed the will and commitment to further strengthen relations between Ethiopia and Somalia, particularly focused on enabling a stable Horn region. Kasam Chani has more on this.
Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed held discussions with the Somalia delegation led by the President of Somalia, Hassan Sheikh Mohammed, in Addis Ababa today. Attending the high-level discussion, State Minister for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, Tesfaye Yilmaz, said Ethiopia is ready to work with Somalia in various fields.
አገሮች ግንኙነት እንዴት ያለ የተሳሰረ ነገር እንደሆነ የሚታወቅ ነው። ስለዚህ በመሪ ደረጃ የሚካሄድ ጉብኝት ደግሞ ግንኙነቱን
The bilateral ties of the two nations are already known. Thus, a visit at the level of leaders is critical to further strengthen bilateral ties. It was noticed that the Premier has attended the inaugural ceremony of Somalia's president so far, and the president has now arrived with his delegation in Addis Ababa. The two countries have various ways of consolidating ties. Some believe that the relationship with Somalia is only peace and security. But the truth is that the two nations are cementing their relations in various aspects.
ሁለቱ ሀገሮች ግንኙነቱ ከሴኩሪቲ በተጨማሪ በተቻለ መጠን በኢኮኖሚ ዘርፎች በንግድ በመሳሰሉ አቅጣጫ
PM of his press secretary Bilene Siyum for her part also said Ethiopia desires a stronger and more stable Somalia to achieve common goals in the own region.
Bilateral ውይይት በነበረው ቆይታ ላይ እንግዲህ ክቡር ጠቅላይ ሚኒስትር አብይ አህመድ
At a time when the two leaders had a bilateral discussion, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has raised issues of Ethiopia and Somalia. The two nations have had very close relations that transcend over centuries. In addition, they have realized that there are too many common values, just like the peace and security issues being undertaken. The two countries are discussing to find remedies to bolster their economy and trade relations.
ከዛ በተረፈ ደግሞ በፖለቲካውም ሆነ በኢኮኖሚውም የበለጠ ትስስር መፈጠር እንዳለ
According to the press secretary, where President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed has appreciated Ethiopia for the sacrifice made to enable a better Somalia. The president highlighted the importance of collaboration to address common challenges faced by the two countries in the turbulent Horn region. Bilene expressed the president of Somalia and his delegation will be in Ethiopia for a two-day official working visit.
The Ministry of Finance and the Japanese government have signed an agreement to provide support for 10 mobile clinics in Ethiopia. The State Minister for Finance, Marita Sawaso, and the Japanese ambassador to Ethiopia, Ito Takako, have signed the agreement today. According to the agreement, the Japanese government will provide 10 mobile clinics with a total worth of 185 million baht. The mobile clinic have full medical equipments. The mobile clinic will provide health service for pastoral communities as well as displaced individuals in Gambela, Afar, Somali, southwestern Ethiopia, Benshangul Gumuz regions. An international jurist says there are invisible hands behind the absurd report of UN human rights experts on Ethiopia in favor of TPLF. Talking with ETV English, the international jurist Dereje Demise criticized the chairperson of the commission, Karabeiti Murungi, as partisan and TPLF nostalgic. Koshumel has the latest on this.
The government of Ethiopia declared its commitment to investigate crimes committed in the context of the conflict in the northern parts of the country and prosecuting perpetrators without any prejudice to their positions and entitlement. However, the UN Human Rights Commission experts released an accusatory and unsubstantiated report against the hard factors on the ground. Talking to ETV, an international jurist, Dereje Demise, said there is an invisible hand behind the absurd report of UN human rights experts on Ethiopia, and the report has fermented in favor of the TPLF.
There are many in the European Union and other places who do not want the Ethiopian government to succeed. There is a fledgling democracy in Ethiopia. There is obviously an ongoing conflict in the north.
Right.
The Ethiopian people see some hope and some light at the end of the tunnel, where they went through 28 years of oppression under TPLF leadership. The forces that pushed for the creation of this human rights experts did so after receiving the Human Rights Commission, the UN Human Rights Commission and the Ethiopian Human Rights Commission report. They didn't like it. They didn't like its finding that it did not find evidence of genocide.
Dereje reported that the chairperson of the UN Human Rights Commission, Murungi, has partisan and having TPLF nostalgic tendency.
My problem starts from the people who constituted this human rights experts. The chairperson, Ms. Murungi from Kenya, has consistently written against the Ethiopian government. She has tweeted several times very accusatory tweets against the government based on some reports that she's read on news accounts. You want a person to lead this kind of inquiry. You want someone who is impartial, who's maintained a level of impartiality, who has not made up his or her mind. But the chairperson, to begin with, was someone who is almost partisan in terms of her alliance with the TPLF. Never criticized TPLF for any of the acts that they've committed.
Dereje underscored that the allegation of human rights group that the government intentionally delayed aid is far from the fact, adding that the Ethiopian government declared unfettered humanitarian access into Tigray region.
One of the allegations they make is the Ethiopian government was delaying aid intentionally. That's the kind of accusation that you make after a thorough investigation. You can't make that kind of serious accusation sitting in Addis.
Yeah.
So their investigation started after the joint human rights and the Ethiopian UN Human Rights and Ethiopian Human Rights Commission said there was no evidence of deliberate delay of humanitarian aid by the Ethiopian government. So what more additional evidence did they collect? I don't know, and they never said. And so it sounded to me like a political document as opposed to a serious human rights report.
It is to be recalled that the government of Ethiopia will not compromise and its sovereignty to be trampled upon by an entity whose main purpose is to humiliate and destabilize Ethiopia. It is to be recalled that the government of Ethiopia will not compromise in its sovereignty to be trampled upon by an entity whose main purpose is to humiliate and destabilize Ethiopia.
70% ሳባና ግራስ ላንድ ነው ወይ ሳራማ ለበት ነው እንግዲህ ለቆርኬ ለዲፋርሳ ለአጋዘን ምቹ ግራውንድ አለ ማለት ነው።
ያው የዱር እንስሳት ሀብት ያለው ከዚህ በፊት ያው ማዘ ብሔራዊ ፓርክ ሲቋቋም ዋናው ዓላማ ብርቅዬ የዱር እንስሳት እንደሚክ ኢሶስ ቆርኬ መገኛ ከመሆኑ አንፃር ነው። ያው ዱር እንስሳት ሀብቱ ያው በጣም አሁን እየጨመረ ነው ያለው።
Welcome back. Irrecha festival, which is highly respected by the Oromo people, is a festival of reconciliation and peace. And following the end of the rainy season, which is full of flood, darkness, and many other socio-economic problems, the Oromo people celebrate Irrecha to give thanks to the Almighty for enabling them to see the bright and hopeful months of September. Therefore, according to organizers of Irrecha, any message out of the context while participating in the Thanksgiving festival is unacceptable. Johannes van Town has more on this.
Ethiopia is well known for being the cradle of human beings and African civilization. Naturally, this makes it a top destination for travelers eager to explore unique local celebrations. One of the most interesting of those celebrated in the country is the Irrecha festival. Irrecha is chiefly a Thanksgiving festival celebrated at the end of the main rainy season and monsoon months in Oromia region, Ethiopia.
ሰዎች ለተረጅም ሰዓት ሳይገናኙ ከወንዝ ማዶ የሚቆዩበት ነው። እንደዚሁም ጎርፍ አለ።
The 3 months before the festival are the rainy months when people stay separated due to the failure of the rivers. Although the rain has many benefits, there is also the problem of waterlogging caused by rain. Rainy season is dark and full of problems. Therefore, Irrecha is celebrated to thank God who overcame this period of difficulty, enable people to see the light, and also to offer thanks to the Creator that the seed sown will be fruit.
Once the period of difficulty comes to an end and the harvest begins, it's marked by this festival. Celebration itself commemorates the arrival of spring, locally called Bura, and blessings enjoyed by people over the past year. The Irrecha festival, which is eagerly awaited by many, is known as a festival of peace and reconciliation. It's where a person reconciles with himself, the society, and nature.
የተጋጨ በተለያየ አካባቢ መኖር ወይንም ደግሞ በቤተሰብም ከቤተሰብ ጀምሮ
Since the Irrecha festival is celebrated by the family before it is celebrated in public with a large crowd, it allows for peaceful resolution of conflicts between family members. Before the celebration of the festival, people who have any differences must be reconciled.
እንደዚሁም ደግሞ በጎረቤትና ጎረቤት በባልና ሚስት እንደዚህ ካለ ኢሬቻ ከመደረጉ በፊት እርቅ ይደረጋል።
According to the Oromia Region Culture and Tourism Bureau Chief, the festival is a celebration of unity and is celebrated by everyone without any distinction.
የሃይማኖት የፖለቲካን የዘርን
There is no religious, political, racial or other discrimination when celebrating the festival. Everyone who participates in a festival celebrates the festival together.
አንዱን ለይቶ አንዱን የሚያደርግበት አይደለም።
Irrecha is celebrated all over Oromia region. However, the biggest celebration takes place in Bishoftu town, about 44 kilometers outside of Addis Ababa. The capital city itself also recently started playing host to this major celebration.
Ya waqti tabik
Director of UNESCO International Institute for Capacity Building in Africa, IICBA, Yomiko Yokozeki, expressed commitment to enhance capacity building activities for tourism development in Ethiopia. In connection with the celebration of Meskel holiday in Ethiopia, the director told Ethiopian news agency that Ethiopia is one of the oldest countries with amazing and fabulous cultural and traditional heritages, and the festival of Meskel, which is inscribed as intangible world cultural heritage for humanity since 2013. In this regard, she pointed out that UNESCO, along with EU, France and many other partners, are doing a lot to enhance the tourism development in Ethiopia with promoting and renovating cultural heritages in the country. The funeral ceremony of the well-known artist Madingo Afewerki will take place at Holy Trinity Catholic Church in Addis Ababa tomorrow. Briefing journalists, the funeral committee spokesperson Saifu Fantaun said it is expected that his family members, government officials, and friends, renowned artists, among others, will attend Madingo's funeral. And Madingo Afewerki is a young Ethiopian singer, drew his last breath yesterday morning while reportedly driving to a hospital for checkups. Madingo Afewerki is a much-loved Ethiopian vocalist whose name is held prestigious as a vocalist of unmatched capacity. He is a household name associated with outstanding performance of songs of Ethiopian music genre, Tizita. The farewell ceremony of Madingo, also organized at 6 p.m. in Friendship Square, it was learned. Meanwhile, Ethiopian President Sahle-Work Zewde and Russian Ambassador to Ethiopia Evgeny Tersekin extends the deepest condolences to the days of Madingo Afewerki. According to the president, Madingo was one of the spectacular artists in Ethiopia that loves his country and his people. The Russian Ambassador to Ethiopia Evgeny Tersekin, for his part, said Madingo was not only a talented artist but also true patriot of his country. His work helped to strengthen the spirit of soldiers who were defending Ethiopia from adversaries. He was an inspiration and pride of the nation, and his days is a great loss of the people of Ethiopia, the official said. The Ministry of Water and Irrigation said Ethiopia's huge potential of renewable energy production, agriculture-led economic strategy, its topography and geographic location give the upper hand of the production of green hydrogen. At the African Green Hydrogen Forum ahead of the COP27 held in Abidjan, Ivory Coast, State Minister for Water and Energy Sultan Wali explained that social and economic benefits of green hydrogen and Ethiopia's potential to become its producer and user. According to the State Minister, a large amount of renewable energy is needed to produce green hydrogen, and the nation has a capacity to produce 45,000 megawatt from hydro, 10,000 megawatt from geothermal, and 100 gigawatt from wind energy. Ethiopia's agriculture-led economic strategy, landscape, geographic location, and alternative ports in neighboring countries create huge advantage to produce and export green hydrogen. Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Ethiopia, Dammaqe Mokonnin, and President of Barbados, Dame Sandra Masson, called the United Nations to serve fairly the developing countries. The two officials urged the United Nations to bring a platform that helps Africa to have fair representation on the international arena regarding on conflicts, and the UN should have the voice problems at every country. The officials underlined that UN must ensure equality between its member states, like the appeal for Pan-African leaders in the past. It was learned.
And in all these things, as His Excellency Emperor Haile Selassie stood here and said, we need to fight inequality. If not, there shall be war. And if we can ensure fairness by ensuring that we can end conflict and we can end corruption, and we can tell the world that we don't want only to talk about the ending of conflict in the Ukraine. We want conflict ended in Tigray. We want conflict ended in Syria. We want conflict ended wherever it raises its head in the world.
We are gathered here because our forefathers, learning from the tragic episodes of human history, decided to establish the United Nations as the guardian of peace. However, we are yet to achieve true universality in the main organs of the United Nations. Africa has no permanent seats at the UN Security Council.
We also believe that the recognition of the G7 countries and the G20 countries as the informal subcommittee of governance of this world, if it is to be fair, must recognize that no longer can we accept that persons call year after year after year for the inclusion of the people of Africa and African descent to be included in the G7 and G20. For how can a world have at its core a subcommittee that excludes more than 1.4, 1.5 billion people of the world and expect it to reflect fairness and transparency in its decision making?
ወዳው ላይ ጣሉ ማለት ቡክ ከፈቱ በቃ ያመቱን ቡክ ከፈቱ የራሱን አካውንት ከፍቷል ማለት ስለዚህ ያ በራሱ የግፋታን ስርዓት ግፋታን እንዲያውቁ በጋራ ሰዎቹ በመተባበር በመደራጀት በተለያዩ ሁኔታዎች አንድ ላይ ለማደግ ያ ውልም የሚገቡበት
Yo-yo gifata.
Yo-yo gifata.
Yo-yo gifata. Yo-yo gifata.
Haya leke lale, haya leke leke, haya leke leke, haya leke, haya leke leke, haya leke.
In business news, Minister of Finance Ahmed Shide expressed hopes that the Ethio-Djibouti railway will bring dividends in terms of transport, logistics and capacity building. The remark came here today when Shide visited the capacity building technology initiatives of the Africa's first fully electrified transboundary railway. Tigris Senesa has more from Ethiopian News Agency.
This February, the Ethio-Djibouti Railway has added 5 new stations to its commuter service from Addis Ababa to Djibouti, bringing the total to 19. The 765-kilometer long railway. This makes it Africa's first fully electrified transboundary railway. Shide lauded the railway's performance, particularly during the past 6 months. The company, in charge of 756-kilometer long track, Shide said has done a tremendous job in terms of capacity building.
The railway has redoubled its effort at achieving greater performance from time to time. It has done remarkably well in dutifully carrying out responsibilities connected to logistics chain. The days of stagnant and painfully long transportation are long gone now. More than anything else, the company kept its logistics costs down.
ጭነትን በተመለከተ በተለይ ቡናን ሙሉ ለሙሉ በባቡር ማጓጓዝ ችለናል።
Some of these success stories are a result of close cooperation with the Ethiopian Electric Service, it was pointed out. Capacity building, especially with the regard of training youth employees, and mechanical, electrical and physical maintenance are proceeding well.
በተለይ አቅም ግንባታ ስራው ኢትዮጵያኖች በተለያዩ የባቡር ዘርፍ
This company is jointly owned and managed by Ethiopia and Djibouti. The first electrified railway service in East Africa has been providing landlocked Ethiopia with faster access to the port of Djibouti. The spirit of oneness engulfing both teams in the two countries has helped reap benefits. Our field visit has confirmed that capacity building initiatives are remarkable.
አሁን ደረጃ በደረጃ እየተኩ ኃላፊነታቸው ተወጡ ይገኛሉ።
The Ethiopia-Djibouti Railway won acclaim for leveraging the transportation needs of the country in August 2019.
The traditional Sudanese instrument comes from Sudan's Blue Nile southern state and has been used for generations. The sound of the traditional Sudanese instrument fills the air in the streets of Khartoum. Let's take a look.
The sound of traditional Sudanese instrument waza fills the air in a theater in Khartoum. The horn-like instrument has been used for generations to usher in the harvest season. It's a man-made instrument in the Blue Nile state by the ethnic Funj group, either the Barta or Al Brun or the Gurmus, and many other communities in the area. It is an outcome of the environment. It's made from the gourd in a long rectangular or cylindrical form, which is planted in a specific way. The instrument comes from Sudan's southern Blue Nile state. Instruments can vary in size, with some as long as 2 meters. The instrument is made from the gourd, which is cultivated at the beginning of the rainy season. As it grows, we pound a stake into the ground and then place a canopy of tree branches and dry grass on top of the gourd to grow and climb. We are now making a new waza from the newly gourd because it has to be remade every year, as the instrument wears out due to being subjected to water and humidity. So we must make new ones every year.
ينفذ القديم ده يركبوا جديد.
Waza players perform in a band of up to 13 members. Some players also use animal horns to tap their waza to create rhythms.
Over now to quick reminder of the headlines. Ethiopia and Somalia agreed to work together to stave off threats to security in the region. The UNHRE Commission's report on Ethiopia is said to be the work of invisible Western hands from behind. Well, you have been watching ETV News. Thanks for your company and have a great time.